I appreciate it's a few days away, but just want to start with any team news that you may have going into Burnley.
Yes, everyone came through our game yesterday without any problems. So I hope that all the players will be available then also on next Monday. So overall, some good news, and I expect more or less to have the same group available that you had also available for the last game.
Has the situation with Pascal Strauch's injury become any clearer?
Yes, the rescan was very good. So the tendon is not involved in this injury, so we can be a bit more progressive also in this rehab. He's also already doing individual stuff outside, so I hope I have him also in a few days back in team training. So I'm perhaps even already at some point in next week back in team training. So it looks good. So not like he will be out for 10 weeks at least as it stands. So it looks good, and definitely some good news with Pascal.
You went with an unchanged starting 11 for last night's game. I just wonder at this stage of the season, maybe led by the data, how the team are dealing with the workload of this championship season and standing up to what's been asked of them.
Yes, I think it's quite normal that you can't play for all 46 games, especially not in the positions where you have to run a lot and play with lots of intensity. There's also a reason why also quite often we rotate a little bit. I think it's also necessary to keep everyone fresh and sharp, but this is also not the rule for each and every game. And when we have a few days between the games, for example, last time around we had no traveling, we had 3 proper nights at home, so it was not a problem in order to be recreated now. And of course, Burnley is a bit of a spotlight game, but I also wanted to set the sign yesterday evening that this is the most important game right now, because the next game was then in this moment, the Norwich game was the right decision, but was also good to share the load a bit in the second half, and also to give important minutes away to Ilya Gruev, to Junior Philp, also in the end to rest a few important players. So overall, the lads are fit. So and as you know, so each and every player wants to play football. They rather play instead of being just there on the training pitch. And I remember also my times as a player, I would have rather played all 3 days instead of training each and every day. So for that, not a big complaint. Of course, we have to be a bit careful, and especially also with players who are coming from a long-term injury, for example. But as it stands, we have a really good fitness level, and for that I'm not too concerned. So yes, Pascal is on the edge to be back in team training then hopefully next week. Also Patrick Bamford will be out for a couple of more weeks, but apart from them two, just young Sam Chambers at the moment not involved, so we have all available, and that's quite good for a busy January, and also when the pitches are getting a bit worse and deeper. So as it stands, it's a good situation.
I wanted to ask you about the pitch, actually. I know you mentioned it last night regarding the surface at Elland Road. Is that something of a concern for you for the next time that you play at home, or can it be rectified?
Well, it was tricky because we had such a quick turnaround, 2 home games just within 4 days. And, you know, when so much rain is coming down, and in this time of the year, obviously the grass is not growing that much anyhow. So it's always a bit tricky. But I trust also our goalkeepers, so they have to do some magic in order to prepare them in a perfect way, because obviously proper pitch and a good, tidy surface is always beneficial for us, because quite often, we are dominant. We have many passes and have to open a deep-sitting opponent quite often. So for us, it suits us more when the pitch is really top. And for that, we also try to be there with a top surface in our home games. Again, we had no chance to have a better surface due to the circumstances yesterday. But I hope for the next home game, it's already in a better condition.
You mentioned Burnley obviously being a spotlight game for you next up. What is your assessment of what they've done this season, and how may they differ from the last time that you met?
Yeah, spotlight game, especially more or less like, of course, for the outside world, and also, of course, for the supporters and the press, the TV. That's also quite normal. I have the team who's sitting top of the league, plays against one of the top sides, and always a bit more spotlight on it, and rightly so. So there's no doubt about this. Overall, it's, if I'm honest, just one of 46 games, and just another chance also to add 1 or 3 points for both teams. And for that, we don't have to overinterpret too much into it. Yeah, but Burnley is definitely one of the top sides in this division. They played last season Premier League. In the Premier League, they are also one of the big favourites also to be there with promotion. They have an excellent squad, many experienced players, individual quality, a very experienced manager who knows what it takes in order to promote to the Premier League. They are ambitious. They are a really strong side, really good in defending many
at the top this season. Does that surprise you, or is that indicative of the Championship now?
No, I think it's always normally a league where it's pretty competitive and pretty tight together. Also last season, of course, the point rate of less than also Ipswich at this stage was a bit extraordinary, but in the end it was still even a tighter race. So we had a really good run and were also pretty tight, and Southampton came closer and closer in the end, also with unbelievable run of 23 unbeaten games. So this can always happen. At the moment, of course, you have to say, so many teams are also involved in the fight for the best positions. I'm just pretty happy at this stage of the season. Makes no sense to analyze who will be right up there on game day 44, 45, because you never know what will happen in the upcoming weeks and months. It's just important that you concentrate on yourself, and we are there with a really good point average. This is important, so we know that we are in a top position right now, also in comparison. In order to definitely finish in the top 6, we have already created a big gap to the positions. Whatever in position 7 or even 5 and 6 anyhow. So it's a really good position to be in. But we also don't watch the table each every day and analyze it. It's more or less like we want to make sure that we keep going in terms of staying unbeaten, in terms of adding the next important points. And for that, we just focus on the here and now. And yes, of course, if you then turn into the crunch time period, the last 6 game days, you also have a look on what happens on other pitches. But at the moment, it also makes no sense to interpolate too much into the each and every result, because you don't know who is then really up there on game day 41, 42. So for that, we just concentrate on what we do and what we can influence, and what we can influence also to be there with the best possible performance in a very difficult away game. Thank you.
Hi, Daniel. How pleased are you to have Pascal back soonish? And does that make you slightly more relaxed now in the transfer market?
Yes, of course, it's good news that the tendon is not involved, and Pascal, like we feared in the beginning, would be out for 10 or 12 weeks. That would have meant more or less season is over for him. Of course, I'm pretty pleased, but not relieved yet, because I also have a little bit in my head what happened last season, when the diagnosis was also quite good, and in the end he didn't make it. So I know a bit about his injury CV, and for that doesn't mean that we will fall asleep till the end of the transfer window. I think there are still a few positions where we could have a deeper look at if there is someone who could improve our squad, and I think this is also exactly what we will do in the upcoming days. But right now, after this diagnosis, a little bit more calmer, and with not being in panic mode, and then with a need that we have to do something. So a bit calmer, but there are still a few positions within the squad where we could think, okay, it's worth also to have a think if there's someone out there. You know my attitude that January is always a complicated window for new signings, but if there's someone out there to improve us, and for that, pretty calm, pretty relaxed, but we'll also further on have a look.
And you've said across this window that obviously you'll remain awake for opportunities. If you find someone who is a good addition, what's the club's stance within financial fair play? Do you have room, or are you a bit limited with finances?
Well, I'm a big friend always to be open and transparent, and to speak also open about what the situation is. And overall, we are sitting with a really good point average, being top of the league anyhow. So it's also difficult to improve this group. Overall, I think it's also fair to say, when we analyze our squad, it was important for me also to see that our long-term injuries, like Islam Padu, also like Ilya Gruev, like Junior Firpo, are right now back, and also have had already good minutes under their belt. So the necessity is also clear, and we can just focus on a few positions. I think it's fair to say that if there is a creative offensive player out there, a bit more like a number 10 position, then it's definitely something what could be beneficial for our group, because we have Brandon Aronson in this position, who is excellent so far during the season, really a key player for us. But we don't have a similar player like him in our group. Of course, we have players who can play this role, but a bit different. Yeah, we had Joel Pirot in this role, a bit more like a loose striker, or perhaps one of our wingers could also play in the central role, but a bit more interpreting this role, also slightly different. So I think it's fair to say, so if there is a solution for a creative midfield player, it definitely makes sense to stay awake. Yes, in all the other positions we are covered. That's definitely a fact. The only two things where I think, okay, we have to stay awake is I have a bit in my head on the centre-back position first, that yes, Pascal had a CV record in the past, and also that sadly Max Wöber didn't have the highest availability during the season so far. So this is a bit what concerns me a little bit, and for that we have to stay awake a little bit also in this position. Yes, and overall, perhaps also a bit in the striker position, because at the moment we have two fit strikers, Joel Pirot and Matteo Joseph, and you know how much I rate Patrick Bamford, and for me he's a really good player, and on this level, yeah, would be outstanding to have him available in his full rhythm. But sadly, he was also struggling with a few injuries during the season, and he will also be out for at least a couple of 2 weeks more. So we will assess, especially on the centre back position and the striker position, also a lot what happens on the re-up. So these are more or less the three positions where we will stay awake. And then the rule is quite clear. First of all, the quality has to be right. So it's not like we will add just a number, because otherwise we could easily take some of our own talents anyhow from the under 21. So it has to be a really proper quality. Then the character has to be that it fits to the group. So his attitude has to be on the top level. Yeah, and the third thing is also like that the player is affordable. So all the three things come together, and need to come together in order to make a signing. And if there is a solution, then we will do this, and if not, then not. So no panic mode, and we'll see if we find a solution. What I can rule out is more or less like that there is a player on the 31st of January has agreed, or his club has agreed more or less with 4 different clubs, more or less a transfer fee or a loan fee, and he just decides, okay, which club pays the highest salary, and I choose this club. So this is not the type of business I'm doing. So I don't believe in this. So I want players who have the proper quality, but also have determination and are fully committed to what we want to achieve here at Leeds United. So we need also proper characters. And if quality and character is top, and we also can afford them, yeah, then why not? But in all the other cases, we'll go with our group, because this group has made sure that we're being top of the league. This group has made sure that we are there with a pretty good point average, many important and really good performances. So for that, this is more or less the rules we'll stick at, but I can't guarantee right now that we'll do something in the end. So let's see if there is a solution, yes, but without being forced.
When we spoke in the summer, there's a couple of times where you said you wanted to have the best defence in the league this season, and Burnley clearly are leading that race with a very formidable backline. First of all, what have you made of their defence and what makes them so strong and hard to break down? And secondly, do you still have those ambitions for being the best defence in the league?
Yes, I still have, and credit to them. They've done an outstanding job so far, I think, in terms of the tight games and the clean sheets. There's not that much of a difference in between. I think we just had 2 or 3 games, a bit like first game day of the season where we conceded 3, or the Hull game where we conceded 3. There were 2 or 3 strange games anyhow where we conceded a few too many. And this is the reason we are not right there up with Burnley. Otherwise, I think in more or less most of the games we are more or less in terms of our defensive record pretty much on the same level. Yes, but credit to them. I think it's outstanding what they have done. So at this point of the season, to have conceded such a small amount of goals is outstanding. Credit to them. Yes, we are still ambitious also to make sure that we can perhaps in the end of the season be even better. But you also have to say we're also pretty attacking minded. We've scored an unbelievable amount of goals, and even more important than to be there with the best defense is perhaps even more to be there with the best goal difference. And this is what we definitely have at the moment. But I'm pretty respectful. I know it's difficult to create chances against Burnley. It's difficult, even more difficult to score goals against them. And for that, also, our offensive players have to fire on all cylinders in order to give ourselves a chance to be there with decisive moments on Monday. But it's definitely something I'm looking at, and want. If it's not possible to be there with the smallest amount of conceded goals, but it's definitely still possible to be there with most clean sheets during the season. It's definitely something we are eyeing on it, because solid defensive behavior will always be also the basement in football for success. And we are on a good path. I think second best defense. Best would be even better.
You talked to Isaac there about certain profiles of players you might be interested in. If you were to try and get a number 10, would you want something different to Brendan that can offer you maybe the ability to unlock a deep line defence perhaps?
Depends on the player. I think each and every individual player is also a bit different to a different player. So obviously, yes, it would be also good to add perhaps slightly different attributes to the game. But overall, the genuine market is also not that easy, and it's not like you can be unbelievably picky anyhow. So we will be picky in the 3 rules. So quality, character, and affordable. So these are 3 boxes that have to be ticked. Otherwise, we won't do anything. But if we can tick all 3 boxes, then it would be good to have a different addition who is also perhaps a bit dissimilar to what Brendan offers. Yes.
Thank you. We're going to do questions under embargo.